Welcome to the Art of Succession podcast with Barrett Young. Join us as we explore the strategies, stories, and insights that shape the journey of leadership transitions and business success. No matter where you find yourself along the journey, this is the podcast where you'll find the tools to make it happen.
Welcome back to part 2 of my discussion with Emily McDonald. If you want to watch part 1 of our discussion, where she talks about launching her fashion rental business and its growth and success and subsequent venture capital funding, you can find that episode right here. Otherwise, let's get back to our episode. Talk to me just a little bit about how to counter some of those very easy, somebody's got to do it, and I'm 100% owner, and my labor's free.
Totally. I have a founder I'm working with right now who's doing this. She's building the company all by herself, and she's working a ton of hours. So there's two different questions here. Let me talk really quick about how you think about it when you're the only one. And then I want to talk about venture capital not wanting you to rest, because that's I have thoughts on that. So when you're the only one, there may be a period where you do have to do it, but there has to be a light at the end of the tunnel. There has to be. You're like, okay, look, right now for the 6-month period, I'm working 80-hour weeks. But at 6 months, I'm not doing this forever. There's an end in sight. And the other thing I would say is to really, really get clear on, is every single thing you are doing important? Also, are you being a perfectionist? Stop.
Yeah.
There are always things I can see that are making people work more hours than they need to. Usually we put way more on our to-do list that actually needs to be done each day. You could probably cross off 70% of your to-do list because it doesn't actually move the business forward. And then
Not pushing it to somebody else, just saying it's not important at all right now.
not important, ruthless prioritization, which also comes with maturity as a founder. Then the piece about, do VCs want to see you resting? You know what? I want to see the next generation of founders confidently telling a VC that they're going to rest. I wish I had done that. I was much more like, oh, what do you want me to do? Oh gosh, please give me your money. And I'm like, no. The founders who are going to win are the ones that go in there and they're like, I'm building something incredible, get in or get out. And I am confident enough in myself, not that you're going to sleep all the time, you'd never build a business, but to be like, I'm confident enough in myself that I'm going to have boundaries. But I will say this is shifting, right? In 2016, it was like the investors had all the power. And it was a little bit like, oh, please give me money. And now I think founders are having realizing that they actually have a say. Although right now the funding environment is so tricky that maybe that's not the case. But I think investors would respect you more if you were like, no, I have boundaries.
Do you think it's a cyclical thing of just every 10 years it waves back and forth, it goes back and forth between workaholism and boundaries? Or do you think it's just specifically the 2010s were this way because of where technology was, and now in 2020 we're not?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I think I think it is cyclical somewhat. Do I think it's going to come back every 10 years? I don't know. But I do think right now, in general, the younger generation cares a lot more about mental health. Now, they're also called lazy. So what's the right balance, right? But I think that at least from my perspective, a better business is built when you're not in hustle mode. I think you make better decisions.
Looking back, and when you're working with female entrepreneurs now, did you take VC too early? When would you advise that they start to look for that kind of outside pressure versus just you're the founder, make sure there's this level?
It's a good question because I think I probably took it too late.
Okay.
And should I have taken it at all is a question. But the problem is we needed capital to grow. I just think the business I was in, clothing rental, is a difficult business. And look, if you're building some technology thing where you just need to put fuel on the fire and scale it when you're ready to be $1 billion company, great. I just think you need to think long and hard about the business you want to build. Is it something that's going to hopefully have $1 billion exit and can scale quickly? I think it's interesting because I definitely had some people when I was pitching that were like, you've been around for too long. You're not already worth $1 billion. We don't want you. So sometimes, yeah, I think I took it a little too late, but it took that. I don't regret that because it took that time for me to even learn how to even go raise. And I was building the business. I think what I would say is sometimes I think VCs' values and what they want are misaligned with what builds a better business, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think sometimes the things they want to see aren't actually what make a good business. not to hate on VCs, but so I think that's tricky, right? Like, are you building for your customers and a great business, or are you building for VCs? I would only raise venture capital for a very, very specific type of business going forward.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask is I was wondering if it was part of the California, the tech culture that you were living in that made it look like we need VCs, we don't need a line of credit kind of approach to this.
Yeah, I think it was really hot then too. And yeah, like I'm in LA and San Francisco, Silicon Valley. I was living in Silicon Valley. Like I'm sure that played a part in it. But I'm also so grateful for the experience. Like I learned so much. And now that really helps me guide female founders through it, 'cause I also know how freaking hard raising is. I have a client that's raising right now, and I give her like daily pep talks because I'm like, look, raising is one of the hardest things in the world. You're literally kicked in the face day after day, told your idea is horrible. Then you have to hold the vision that it's going to be the next Starbucks, even when you also know there are problems with what you're building, right? So it's like a very like out of body experience to do it. But I think been such a great learning experience. And I think, I'm super grateful I got to do.
Okay, so COVID is this massive reset, you have to close a store, you have to scale back, furlough the team, all that kind of stuff. How did you get out from under the VC with this
Oh
company?
my gosh. I mean, honestly, it's not an easy answer. It was not, we tried so hard. We tried everything to bring that company back to life post COVID, and it just couldn't. Like it just, so to be honest, like that company is so much smaller today. And like the VCs actually like, I hope I'm speaking this correctly, love me because I tried everything. And I think Rent the Runway is still struggling today. Like I think it just was one of those things like we weren't going to get more capital. And it was really, really hard to come back from. So it wasn't like I got out from under them. I think it's that I literally gave TheStylist LA everything I had and really tried to bring it back to like pre-pandemic status. And it just wasn't meant to be.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you bring another owner in with you over the past 5 years? I think you told me at least pre-call this is winding down. What's that looking like?
Yeah, it's winding down. There is a little bit actually I can't talk about because our partner is majorly in the news, which I won't say more of right now, but we have a logistics partner. They have a bit of equity in the company. They run the service for us, and they are going through some legal troubles of their own, which is in the news. And so that's causing the wind down to take a lot longer than expected. But I'm hoping to have it wound down by the end of the year. And to be honest, like I'll be fully frank here, like, I lost my investors' money, right? Like, but especially Jason's team has said to me, "Look, like, we appreciate your heart and soul, everything you've done for this, and, like, we wanna be the first you tell when you build your next thing." And so that's incredible. Not everyone is that way, but, like, I think, that's like, I'm one of those people, I give everything to what I'm trying to do, and I really turned over every stone with the Stylist Elite. We tried different partnerships, we really tried to bring it back, and it just got to a point where it was like, "This isn't feasible," and I think at some point you have to cut your losses. You can't keep a company going that's not gonna work forever just because you feel bad telling your investors it's time to be done.
But you've proven you are the investment and you are worth the investment, even if that particular idea
I mean, hopefully.
didn't work out this time.
Hopefully, I
So,
think some of them think that, some of them maybe don't.
sure. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Talk to me just about post COVID, how your mindset is shifting and starting another company.
Well, what's interesting you'll see is the new business I run has no inventory, very little o
Completely different.
very little overhead, does not need any investment, and I was gonna say easier to scale, that's the wrong word. It's, simpler to scale. So, basically, after COVID, I hired my first coach. She was too expensive. I was like, "I can't afford it," but I was like, "I literally can't afford not to, like, I'm dying." So, I hired her, and she helped me so much just really realize, like, I wasn't the status quo. It was a separate entity than me, and I started realizing I wanted to help female founders feel less alone. And so that's when I started, like, some of my friends who were really good at what they do in business, but weren't as good at business came to me during COVID and were like, "Help me." So I started, like, consulting for them. And then basically from there, it just snowballed into now I mentor and do business strategy for female founders. And I help female founders truly from, like, I'm launching a digital product soon that's on, like, when you're thinking about starting a company, right? All the way to, like, my one-on-one clients are doing multi-million in revenue or getting acquired for multi-millions. So There are ways I work with everyone in between, but what I realized from my experience is I didn't want people to feel as alone as I did. And I wanted them to have the support from people who built things and who could help them like skip steps and not make the same mistakes.
Okay. I mean, before we get into what that looks like for you, you mentioned you didn't bring on your first coach until after COVID or post COVID. So 12 years into running your own business is when you brought in your first official coach. Talk to me just a little bit about VC money and the strategy, the benefit that they bring besides just investing, because they had to have been speaking into your business, Jason, would being a close, close investor and everything like that. So just talk to me about that, because my listeners aren't necessarily venture capital interested, but there's a lot of private equity in service businesses, and that's attractive sometimes. They know how to run
Totally.
$100
And
million
I had so
companies. So
much
yeah,
value from a lot of my investors. There were a couple that weren't as great. I'll just be totally honest. And there were a few
sure.
that were super helpful. I mean, they just have perspective, but I do think it's tricky because it's like a lot of times venture investors have perspective on venture backed businesses, right? And so, like, they were very helpful. But I also think a coach is different in that a coach is someone or a coach or a mentor. If it's someone that you pay, one, they don't have equity. Like, they're not like
Yeah.
tied, like, they're in your best.
Their advice doesn't come with a "or else" or
Yeah, like,
"I
they
have
don't
my
have a
money."
hidden agenda,
Yeah,
right? And, like, not
yeah,
my
right.
investors are wonderful, I'm not trying to, like, hate on any of them, but I think I wish so badly I'd had a coach way earlier on.
Okay. Talk to me just about how this message resonates with your founders and how you prevent some of the same issues other than just saying, "I'm here and telling you don't do this."
Yeah.
How you work with them when they do feel that pressure.
Well, there's a few different things, right? Which is like, I want women to build businesses, women and everyone, but like, because I work with women, build businesses that
Sure.
truly support the life they want to live. Well, have them think about what the life they want to live is. Do you want to be the person running a VC backed company? Or do you want to be someone who's staying home with your kids and working 20 hours a week? Like, what does that look like? Then we talk about strategically building a business that fits that. Because I think that's a step that's missing a lot, right? Like, the whole reason most of us start businesses is to have freedom, and then we end up not having the freedom because we've chained ourselves to our business. So, like, we need to be intentional about that. So that's the first thing, is figuring out really what they want. And then there are other things that, like, that help, right? Like, figuring out, like, really working on your self-worth. So your self-worth is not tied up in your revenue. Like, having people that you're open and honest with so you don't feel shame around things happening in your business. Knowing that others are going through the same thing as you helps a lot with just mental health also. And another thing, like the ruthless prioritization, I help clients with that all the time because they'll be like, "Oh, I'm working so hard on X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "Okay, do all these things need to be done?" So it's some mindset, some strategy, and then intentionality around what they're building and really making sure that what they're building is what they want to build.
How do you, as a business strategist, hold them to what they said they wanted 6 months ago versus, "Well, no, I'm changing it now and I'm gonna shift." 'Cause I say I want something, then I get into it, I'm like, okay, so for example, podcasting. I launched this thing a year ago, 2 interviews a month. Now I have access to all these guests, and I'm like, do I wanna become weekly? And it's like, there's pros and cons to both sides of it, and I had to stop myself and say, "What's the point of podcasting? It's not to have a weekly show." So but founders do that all the time. We're like, "Well, this is bright and shiny
It's
now."
okay to shift, but going back to asking your question, like, what's the goal here? I actually have founders often do an exercise for me, which is, what is your dream state in a year from now? Within reason. You can't,
Okay.
like, ride a flying car to work. But within reason, what does your dream life look like in a year? And let's work backwards. So what you did there actually is perfect. You said, "What's the point of the show? And does that align with weekly guests?" It's okay to change. It's totally okay to shift and change as long as you go back to asking, like, what's the real reason I'm doing this? What's the real reason I'm doing the podcast? What is it supporting? Do I need to do weekly shows?
When you started the show in 2009, though, venture capital and all, second location, all that kind of stuff, that couldn't even, I mean, maybe it was in your wildest dream, but so a lot of this is just like you get into something for 2 to 3 years and then what's available to you just completely changes. So do you have them revisit this? Like, what does this business mean?
Revisiting it all the time. And because the other thing is, like, especially for women, whether you have kids or not, or whether you're single or like whatever that is, changes, shifts what you want. So maybe when your kids are little, you don't want to be working as much or you don't want to be gone and try. Like a perfect example. My kids are 4.5 and 2.5. I was not doing in-person things for a while. Now this year I'm ramping up in person. And as they get a little older, I'll go to more conferences. I'll do more things like that. I'll do more in-person networking. Now that's not shifting my big goal, but it's always changing. But usually it's not changing in 6 months to a year. And if it changes, rewrite where you want to be in a year. We don't have to have the whole vision planned out right now. And that's also why, like, I just have a membership and I just posted about what are your 90-day goals. A lot of times it's like, what are we doing in the next 90 days?
If you don't have a goal, you're not making progress towards anything,
And then
right?
that's when you end up with a to-do list with a bunch of things you don't need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. At least if it's 2 years out, it can change, but it should inform the next 90 days, and that should inform what I'm doing this week.
Everyone asks
If you
me,
don't have that, you're just doing whatever needs to be done this week.
I get asked that all the time. Like, how do you prioritize? How do you have so much energy? How do you get so much done? And I'm like, it's because I know where I'm going and I'm ruthlessly prioritizing. And I don't do busy work. Granted, I've saved some back end things to do this summer when I'm less busy. So, like, that's not busy work though, right? Like, I don't do anything just to do it. Everything has an intentionality. Does it support my big 90-day goals? Does it support my big goals for this year?
Yeah, that's good. I like it. Emily, how much work do you do with partners? How much work do you do with co-founders? Or is it all single founders? I mean, who do you work best
So
with on that?
actually,
I know it's a lot easier without
it's
co-founders, but
funny. I've become known, this is actually hilarious. This was an accidental thing I fell into. I've also become known as the go-to for repairing co-founder relationships in VC-backed world. So I work with co-founders when they want to strengthen their relationship. I've become really good at that. So I'm happy to work with co-founders or single founders. It doesn't matter. Anyone, I work with women primarily, although I do have a new client who's a guy. So I say female founders, but he's an old friend of mine. And he's building something I think is really cool. So I'm open to men. I'm actually just talked to co-founder men too. But typically I work with women who the psychographics are the same. It's not necessarily a niche in that like they're building X type of company, usually gravitate towards B2C. And B2C could also be like towards solopreneurs. But B2B, enterprise B2B is not my strong suit. So anyone who is building something that sells to a consumer or a solo founder, something like that, that really wants to have an impact on the world. I like for the founders I work with to be driven, super motivated. They get out of their own way. They're excited. They want to be on this like personal growth journey. So for me, it's that type of founder who like has a burning in their soul for what they want to build. They take initiative. They're ready to do scary things. Those are my dream clients.
did you not know that those existed in 2009? Or I think part of this, I didn't have a coach for a couple years there either, not a one that I was paying a lot of money to. Do you think that part of it is our own arrogance being a founder of nobody knows my business, nobody knows what I'm going through?
I also think coaching, for better or worse, is trendy now. I didn't
Yeah.
even know what a
Okay.
coach was in 2009. I really didn't. I don't think it's that no one knows my business. I think also I used to like poo-poo having to pay for that. Like I thought that should be an advisor. And I think that was just the narrative. And now I think, thankfully, people are realizing like I do need to pay for help or that's a good strategy. I mean, I spend so much on coaching. It's very important for me
Yeah.
because I'm constantly trying to get better at my own business and for my client.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that pattern once you've gotten a coach yourself, or, once you're a coach, how can I say my clients need a coach if I don't have a coach kind of thing too, or a strategist. Yeah.
I went through a phase this year where I was like, I'm going to take a break. I finished a mastermind. It was a year long and I was like, I'm going to take a break. And literally within 2 weeks, I was signed up for a new mastermind because I like it. Like I want to always be getting better. I want to be pushed a little bit. I want to be like learning, moving quicker, that kind of thing.
I mean, that was a quick episode, Emily. Is there anything I haven't covered yet that you wanted to add before we get into lightning
I
round?
think if you just want to say like, how do you work with female founders? Just so I can say like the broad
Yeah.
spectrum.
Yeah, I'm interested because you said you start with them from like the idea and no revenue at all. You have that class. So yeah, tell me just the range and when like one-on-one coaching might make sense.
Yeah. So what I've found that I'm most passionate about is helping female founders at every step of the journey. So I'm actually building out a few more products, but it'll be like digital products for what to think through when you're starting your business. I have a group program for female founders trying to hit 5K months. Then I have a mastermind for those that are scaling, a membership for those that are in between. And my one-on-one clients are usually doing over $1 million in yearly revenue. So my goal is to have something for everyone so that I can really help them along the journey. And then as they grow, they can move along through my different containers that work for them.
Okay. Are there any, obviously female founder is your focus and everything. Is there anybody who's not a good fit that you would in pre-work and everything like that, you'd say, I don't think this is what you
Two
need?
things. One is enterprise B2B.
Yeah.
The sales process, one, it's like too long for me. I'm not good at it. I've never done it. And then the second piece is a founder that's really going to stand in their own way. It just won't work. You won't get the results you want. So I want someone who takes initiative and who's ready to do the scary thing and who doesn't overthink too much. If you overthink a little bit, we can work through it, right? But I need someone who's ready to take leaps.
What's that look like? I mean, when you're talking to them?
You can just tell usually, it's okay if you're in your own way a little bit, right? Like we all are. But if you're someone who's way too scared to do the scary thing, you're not going to get the results you need, right? Like I can advise you on what to do all day long, but if you don't take the steps, you're not going to get the results that you want.
So it's like, I've had this idea for 10 years and never
But
really
I'm
put
doing
anything.
research on it I'm
Yeah.
researching for 10 years, or I'm scared to put this out in the world because it's not perfect, which it's okay to be scared, but are you willing to put it out in the world?
Yeah. I'd say this because I've seen it. You're my third coach and I still haven't launched anything yet.
That's a bit,
Just trying to wait for all the pieces to fall into place and it be perfect. So,
yeah, exactly.
yep.
You got to be ready to jump. Fail fast, fail often, fail forward.
How do you talk to your clients about failure?
I mean, I think failure is incredible. I just said to someone, I think I did a social media post on this, your launches where you make $0 are just as important as your launches where you make 10K if you'll let it be, which means you learn from it. I think failures are so valuable. I think we should celebrate them all the time.
There's so much feedback. There's so much information from the deals that don't go through, from the, launch sales and everything like that.
I
That don't.
advised a co-founder duo I worked with who I love dearly. I was with them for 2 years. They made up something called a whoopsie cocktail because at first they were super scared because there's two of them. They were scared about being wrong. And it was well, if you do something wrong, that's great. Let's go have a cocktail, a whoopsie cocktail, and celebrate and cheers doing something wrong because it
I
meant you were
like it.
trying new things. So whoopsie cocktail, try that.
I like it. That's a great tip. All right. Anything else, Emily, before we get in the lightning round?
No, I'm just so grateful to be here and tell the story.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your experience. All right. Coffee or tea, and how do you like it prepared?
Coffee, cold brew on ice with a little bit of stevia.
Okay. Pie or cake, and do you have a favorite kind?
Celebration cupcake,
Okay. Do you have a favorite holiday and why?
4th of July.
Okay.
And why? Just because summer. Summer, hot dogs, cool.
Okay. All right. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Definitely morning.
What about favorite routine?
Honestly, I have 2 teeny kids, so I would say I sit on the couch and watch the Today Show with my coffee, and they sit next to me, and we just hang for a little bit.
What's a common belief among entrepreneurs that you would want to challenge? Maybe that we haven't already challenged, or feel free.
Well, that's one we've talked about, but my real one is you don't have to work. Well, okay, there's 2. One is growing a business is not easy. It can feel aligned, but that doesn't mean it's easy. I think there's a narrative right now that if it's aligned, it should feel easy. No, that's not true.
Yeah.
Okay. And the
Yep.
second one I was going to say is you don't have to work all the time to be a successful founder. You just don't.
There's a little bit of tension between those two, and I know you're probably aware of that.
Well, I think the hard is not necessary. People always think the hard is working all the time. That's not what I mean. Hard is that
Yeah.
you're going to get told no. You're going to have days where you're like, what am I even doing? Does anybody want this?
Yeah. You can get kicked in the teeth working 40 hours a week too. So
Exactly. Exactly. You will get kicked in the teeth, but you don't need to be working 100 hours a week while getting kicked in the teeth.
what is one thing that you would want your successor to remember you for?
Giving it my all. Every day I want to leave it all on the field. And by the way, that doesn't mean working 12 hours. That means I gave it my heart and soul. That means whatever I had that day, I gave it all I had. I was kind to people, led with a giving heart. That's what I mean by that. Not left all of my work on the field.
I'm going to break my own rule here, but it's my rule, so I can do it. I want to talk just a little bit about that. How do you get to the end of your to-do list or the end of your day and still have things on the to-do list and just train yourself to say tomorrow? I mean, obviously, yeah, the prioritization like you talked about, but even when you've taken away 80% of your tasks, you're still going to have more stuff to do at the end of the day. So is it just, it's it's 6 p.m., 5 p.m., whatever, turn it off?
So I'm blessed by having 2 little boys. So at 5 p.m. they're home. So I don't work when they're home. And then they go to bed. And at 8, if I need to, I will get back on the computer from 8 to 9. which it's okay. I don't mind doing that, but I don't want to get in the habit of doing it every single night or 8 to 10, depending. You just have to become okay, like practice letting things go till tomorrow. What has to be done today? It's usually just a small portion of your list. And what is actually going to make you money? That's what I look at. I look at my to-do list and I'm like, what are the actual money makers or serving client pieces? Because those are the things I really have to do. What's the other like nice to have, right? And wait, let me say one caveat really quick. I'm growing on Instagram is really important to me. Not numbers, not followers, but I only have 3,000 followers, but that's actually where I get a lot of my clients. So when I was really focused on growing it, it was the first hour of my day. That was my marketing activity. So I would say for the first hour of the day, I'm focused on posting, engaging, answering DMs. Now, like it's like more of like feels a little easier now because I've been doing it for a while. So I don't do that the same way. But that's what I was doing when it was my number one priority.
Yeah. Get one of those long-term things that's not an immediate payoff, but get that done first thing in the morning, and it's got to get done every single day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it. Where do you find creativity right now?
Reading, walks outside, meditating, playing with my kids. I think white space gives me more creativity. So for example, I told you I had the last 2 months were crazy. They were very busy. So now I'm trying to build in more white space for the next few months because that's where a lot of my creativity of like what I'm going to build, what I'm going to work on next comes from.
Free time to be bored and think. Yeah, love it. What do you have coming up that's got you really excited in the next year or so?
I am hosting my first ever retreat in the fall in Manhattan Beach. Super pumped about that. And yeah, in-person events, hosting my first
Yeah.
retreat, and just really excited to bring female founders together.
How many people in that retreat?
In that retreat, it will be 10.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, Emily, where can people go to find out more about you?
Find me on Instagram at Founder Emily. There's a link in my bio, which takes you to all of the biggest, most important things I'm doing right now. I have a free community for female founders where I do like every once in a while, I do free Q&A calls. I drop resources in there. There's some good conversations, but that will be linked in my Instagram as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll put those links down in the description too. So, well, thank you so much for sharing your experience and fighting back against hustle culture. I really appreciate your voice out there. So
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
I hope that you've enjoyed this episode with Emily McDonald as much as I have. Here on the Art of Succession podcast, we interview business owners with their own succession stories twice every month. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, you can find a link to that down in the description below. If this episode has been at all helpful for you, I'd ask that you please share it with someone else, and you'll probably enjoy this episode next. But I want to thank you for watching The Art of Succession.